All right, it's a little after 6 o'clock, 6:01, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. Start out with the Pledge of Allegiance from led by Councilmember Lawson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
More.
All right, thank you. We're going to go ahead and do a roll call.
Mayor Larkey,
Here.
Councilmember White,
Here.
Councilmember Thompson,
Here.
Councilmember Pryan, Councilmember Davidson,
Here.
Councilmember Lawson,
Here.
Councilmember Richardson,
Here.
Councilmember McCallum,
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Going to note real quick that for voting purposes, those on the Zoom call, we will need to be able to see you and hear you when we go forward with the voting process. At this point, going to bring forward a motion D.
You can do that, yeah. Since the mayor's on Zoom today, I would make a motion to select Councilmember Alex McCallum as acting mayor in accordance with Section 2-34 Code of Ordinances, City of Belton, Missouri.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the topic? All right, hearing and seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Looking at personal appearances tonight, we do not have any. So we're going to move to unfinished business, a motion to approve the final reading of Bill number 2024-56.
An ordinance of the City of Belton, Missouri, calling for and establishing the date of the general city election for municipal officers to be held on April 8, 2025.
Present.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Lawson,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Davidson,
Yes.
Richardson,
Aye.
McCallum,
Aye.
Thompson,
Yes.
White,
Aye.
Mayor Larkey.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Moving to new business, we have a motion approving the first reading of Bill number 2024-57.
An ordinance accepting a Mid-America Regional Council grant for the Belton Senior Center kitchen renovation project.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Andrea, would you like to add anything else?
Yes, good evening, Council. Back in July, the Mid-America Regional Council awarded the Belton Senior Center with an annual operating grant. We were informed that there was additional money available for equipment needs at the center. We identified new kitchen cabinets, countertops, and a deep 3-well sink as a need that we had there. All of these items will provide staff a more functional workspace and will more closely align the kitchen with the health department standards. The item before you is a grant award of $20,815 for the project. The additional labor cost of $9,700 was budgeted in the fiscal 25 capital improvements budget. If there are no additional questions or concerns, I would ask for a double reading tonight so this paperwork can be submitted to Mark.
All right, any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, any opposed? All right, that motion passes.
Motion for a second reading.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? All right, hearing none. Ask all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none. That passes. A motion approving the final reading of Bill number 2024-57.
An ordinance accepting a Mid-America Regional Council grant for the Belton Senior Center kitchen renovation project.
Present.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for the second reading. Any other discussion on this?
I would just ask, Andrea, do you know when the work may start?
We're hoping to do the first 2 weeks in January in order to work around the holiday schedule that's already planned for the building with the park department.
Great, thank you.
Any other discussion? At this time, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Davidson,
Yes.
Richardson,
Aye.
McCallum,
Aye.
White,
Aye.
Thompson,
Yes.
Mayor Larkey.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on to number 2, motion approving the first reading of bill number 2024-58.
An ordinance approving the appropriation and revision of the City of Belton fiscal year 2025 adopted city budget for the purpose of renovating the Belton Senior Center kitchen and approving a contract for services with Heron Contracting LLC.
Present.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Andrea, would you like to add to this one?
Yes, this is the second half of the project. The item is approving the Senior Center project. The ordinance will amend the fiscal 25 budget, accepting the reimbursement grant, and also approving the contract with Heron Contracting. An RFP was published for this project. There were 2 bids received, and Heron was the lowest and best at $30,515. The equipment cost of $20,815 will be reimbursed by Mark, and the labor cost of $9,700 will be, it's already in the fiscal 25 capital improvement budget. And if there are no additional questions or concerns, I would ask for a double reading of this one tonight also, so that the agreement with Heron can be signed and the project can be scheduled.
Any discussion? Hey, Andrea, can you just clarify on the purpose for the double reading as, since the work's not being done till January, just on the need for that?
Sure. They won't be able to get it on the schedule until we have the agreement signed with them. So this one isn't as important as the other one because the grant does need to get in place. If you would prefer not to, we could do it on the November 26th meeting. And it would still fit in the schedule.
Okay, any other discussion? Sorry, hearing none, can I get, and this is not a roll call, can I just get all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries.
Motion for a second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Okay. With that, can I get a roll call, please? Or not a roll call?
This would
On
be a
the-
voice vote to
Oh,
hear
a
the
voice.
second reading.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Can I get all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Nay. That motion carries. Can I have a reading for the second reading of, I apologize. Which bill are we on? Can you remind me?
Be Bill 2024-58.
There we go. A motion approving the final reading of Bill 2024-58.
An ordinance approving the appropriation and revision of the City of Belton fiscal year 2025 adopted city budget for the purpose of renovating the Belton Senior Center kitchen and approving a contract for services with Heron Contracting LLC.
Present.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All right. Seeing and hearing none, I'll move forward with a roll call, please.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Davidson,
Yes.
McCallum,
Nay.
Richardson,
Aye.
Mayor Larkey,
Yes.
White,
Aye.
Thompson.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Now we have a motion approving the first reading of Bill number 2024-59.
An ordinance authorizing acceptance of an allocation of funds and execution of a grant agreement with the Missouri Department of Public Safety from the Emergency Management Performance Grant and a total award amount of $159,370.04.
Present.
Second.
All right, we have another motion and a second. Claire, would you like to talk to us about this?
Good evening.
We need
Do I
to
need
get
to
your
use the
mic.
mic?
Yeah.
Is it on? Cool. Don't break it. Okay, is that better? All right. So each year, the City of Belton applies for the Emergency Management Performance Grant, which is a federal grant providing 50% local match to supplement the salary of the Emergency Management Director. This enables us to maintain a consistent and dedicated focus on emergency preparedness and response. This is a routine grant that's essential for supporting our community's preparedness efforts and assisting us in planning and preparing for all types of hazards. If there are no additional questions or concerns, I would also ask for both readings tonight, as there is a November 21st deadline to submit the ordinance back to the state.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries.
Motion for a second read.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for a second reading. Any discussion on that? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Motion approving the final reading of Bill number 2024-59.
An ordinance authorizing acceptance of an allocation of funds and execution of a grant agreement with the Missouri Department of Public Safety from the Emergency Management Performance Grant for a total award amount of $159,370.04.
Present.
Second.
Any other discussion? Andrew, can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Davidson,
Yes.
Lawson,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
McCallum,
Aye.
Richardson,
Aye.
Mayor Larkey,
Yes.
White,
Aye.
Thompson.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Number 4, a motion approving the first reading of Bill number 2024-60.
An ordinance authorizing certain documents related to the taxable revenue bonds, NP Belton Residential Project Department Series 2022, and the transfer of the Encore Commercial Apartment Project in the city.
Present.
Second.
All right, you're up.
Thank you, council members. The item in front of you this evening is a reassignment of the development incentives for the Encore multifamily project. Just a little bit of background, the city council had initially approved a development agreement with North Point in 2020 to construct a 322-unit Class A luxury multifamily development. As part of that development process, the council also authorized a Chapter 100 incentive package for the development. Under the agreement, North Point would receive a property tax abatement and would make annual payments in lieu of taxes through 2042. This past fall, North Point approached the city's Economic Development Council announcing that they had found a potential buyer for the Encore property and were interested in selling it to that party, Pasco. Under the development agreement in Article 12, Section 12.01, the city is required to give written consent for the reassignment of the incentive package. The development agreement that the council agreed to back in 2020 does outline that the city must be reasonably satisfied that the buyer has the financial ability and the experience to manage the property and the project going forward. Staff held several meetings and have had ongoing conversations with both North Point and representatives from Pasco. Both North Point and Pasco provided information that staff believes satisfies the requirement outlined in the development agreement for reassignment. North Point and Pasco have requested a double reading as they would like to close in early December on the reassignment, or have asked for a double reading on the reassignment as they intend to close on the property in early December. One of the things I do want to point out, or two things real quick to point out. One, the reassignment of the incentives does not in any way change the incentives that had been originally agreed on by the council back in 2020 and 2022. And also, this is also one of the final pieces is the lending partner for Pasco still has a final review on some of the documents. We don't anticipate there are going to be any changes, but for the reassignment, this really is what we wanted to put in front of council this evening to move forward for North Point as well as Pasco. Happy to answer any questions about the reassignment itself. We also have Sid Douglas, our Economic Development Counsel, is here this evening, as well as folks from North Point to answer any questions.
Any discussion?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
There were a lot of documents attached to our agenda for tonight, and just wanted to be sure that we're satisfied that those documents protect the city's interest with regard to being reimbursed under the tax abatement.
That is correct,
All right.
yes.
And the city was provided all documents that you requested without any issue in order to establish the basis for the reassignment.
Absolutely. And I will make, a comment for transparency is both Pasco and North Point. I believe some documents were provided to council. Both North Point and Pasco provided much more information as we continue to ask questions throughout this process. And so staff has really been satisfied with the level, one, of responsiveness, but also transparency that both have provided during this process.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
I will add that we've had several meetings with both North Point and Pasco, and they proved to me that they are willing and able to do this, and that what I liked about it was that they've set up a maintenance fund ahead of time prior to the sale of the property. So Pasco has a maintenance fund set up in advance to maintain the property for their term of ownership. So that's why I like it.
Do you want to jump in, Mr.?
Yeah, just to piggyback on what Mike was saying, the Pasco was willing to give us just about any document we asked for, so there was never any pushback on any of the documents that we asked for. And so they were more than willing to give us any information that was needed. And I just want to make sure, Patrick's not here. He had another meeting that had an issue that came up, the conflict because of Veterans Day, pushing a meeting a day later than normal. And but I discussed essentially this issue with him earlier today, and I want to make sure that the council understands that the main thing that we're looking to do here as a council is to ensure, one, that they have the financial ability to do what they need to do to maintain the property, and two, that they have the ability and the proven ability or track record to keep it a Class A, and both of those have been met. And other than that, we do not get to renegotiate the incentives. We don't get to try and change the terms or anything like that. And in fact, it would probably hold us liable or open to liability in a potential civil suit if we denied this, given that they have met the basic tenets of what we're trying to do here. So we're very limited in our scope of what we can approve here. The city's just essentially being in a reassignment like this. The city's just the clearinghouse to say, okay, these guys have the ability to do what they say they're going to do. So we don't get to pick and choose who they're going to sell it to. We just get to vet them to say that they can follow through with what they're supposed to follow through on.
Any other yeah, go ahead.
I feel like you guys have done a good job explaining that our role is just to make sure that they're passing to someone who will maintain the Class A luxury type. I think there were some lessons in this. Granted, this project precedes our city manager, everyone currently on council, our economic development director. So I just feel like maybe there are lessons in that when working with developers on projects with incentives, and given local issues, and I'll say that in the metro area, not specifically Belton, with out-of-state property managers, and feeling really good about a project like Encore because it's North Point and they're in our backyard. And to quote their own CEO in this room one time, he said he caught lightning in a bottle in Belton. It just makes me a little nervous in terms of that relationship going forward, of how much transparency can we expect on projects. I think there was a sense that maybe we were surprised that this transaction is happening so soon after opening the property. So I just wanted to put all of that out there, that as a group, we have been through this now and seen it, and maybe we'll have different questions down the line.
Any other discussion?
And I appreciate that everything that staff has done to provide information to us for this decision. Thank you.
And I do just want to mention, so the other individual that is on the Zoom call, that is a representative of Pasco, who has also been very helpful through this process. And so they're definitely interested and invested in this as well and making sure it's a success as well.
And the ask for the double read specifically is because, yes, they're closing in early December, but they also are working with financing. And so as everybody who's ever done any financing for even a house or anything major understands that it takes time for them to review all the documents. And so for us to push this back to November 26th for the second reading would put a major, would be a major issue for the potential buyer.
I have one question along the lines of what you were talking about, Joe, which is, can you maybe give an example of something that might have come forward that would have given the city council a reason not to vote yes?
If they didn't have a history of dealing with Class A apartments potentially, if they didn't have the financial wherewithal to reinvest in the property, but in both regards, they've passed with it wasn't just the bare minimum. This is a group that does this a lot. And just to be frank with folks, I mean, chances are this isn't the last time we're going to have to do this reassignment for the length of these incentives. Generally, Pasco, they say they're a long term, which would be up to 10 years. They're an investment. This is essentially an investment for folks. So that's good and bad. It's good in the terms of that because it's an investment for folks. They have a financial stake in keeping these as Class A because they're not going to hold them long term. And so if they hold them, it'll be, they could sell it again in 4, 5, 10 years. And they're going to want this to still be a Class A because they want to get a return on their investment. And so there may be a time down the line where we're looking at this and saying, okay, we need to be careful of who is buying this. But until those incentives run out, there's definitely a financial reason for the company to maintain this as a Class A.
All right. Any other discussion? Last chance.
I think I'll just add, and maybe Mike, you'll know this just by knowing it, but didn't North Point recently sell an apartment project in Lee Summit? Does that sound accurate?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so that is maybe a trend we're seeing that we're part of.
All right. Anyone else? All those, seeing none and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that motion passes.
Motion for a second reading.
Second. I have a motion and a second for a second reading. Any discussion on that? Alrighty, can I get all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion passes. A motion approving the final reading of Bill 2024-60.
An ordinance authorizing certain documents related to the taxable revenue bonds, North Point Belton Residential Project Apartments, Series 2022, and the transfer of the Encore Commercial Apartment Project in the city.
Present.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Richardson,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
McCallum,
Aye.
Davidson,
Yes.
Mayor Larkey,
Yes.
White,
Aye.
and Thompson.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. A motion approving the first reading of Bill number 2024-61.
An ordinance approving an interlocal agreement between Belton Police Department, Belton Fire Department, Cass County Sheriff's Office, Harrisonville Police Department, Peculiar Police Department, Pleasant Hill Police Department, Raymore Police Department, South Metro Fire Protection District, West Peculiar Fire Protection District, and the Cass County Emergency Services Board.
Present.
Second. All right, I have a motion and a second, and it looks like, Joe, you have some things you want to share with us.
Yes, council, I do want to share that, this ESB agreement is essentially the cost share agreement. We discussed this last meeting during work session, but previously we did approve, back in August, a software agreement with the ESB and the related agencies. This is kind of the cost share portion of it. This is us saying, okay, we're going to uphold our financial obligation as part of this agreement, and that's what we're entering into right now. And essentially, the nut paragraph on this is that it's going to cost us about $27,000 annually, and we're paying almost, over $80,000 annually for that service with a different provider. So we would no longer continue that service moving forward, and this would be a significant cost savings for the city. And in addition to that, we've talked about in the past about some of the benefits of entering into this joint computer-aided dispatching agreement in terms of the efficiencies that are created with other agencies within the county. I'd be glad to stand for any questions.
All right, any discussion?
If you don't mind refreshing my memory from the work session, will this affect our staffing levels, or will this change?
No.
Okay.
At this point, this is not a full conglomeration or consolidation of dispatch in any way, shape, or form. This is just the computer-aided side of it. This the jail management system is included as part of this. The records management system is included as part of this. But there are no staff savings or efficiencies or anything gained from this at this point. It's just the software portion of what we're dealing with.
Okay. And do you know when this transition will take place, or what the transition plan is, just to make sure there's no?
It's already up and running.
Okay.
Yeah, they went through the transition right after we approved the software board agreement with the assumption that we would eventually approve the cost share agreement. And although there have been a couple of times where I would say that the ESB put the cart before the horse on this deal, that doesn't mean that it's a bad deal.
Sure. Does this require a second reading?
Does it require it? No,
I'm kidding.
I'm not asking for a second reading. I think that, contrary to what it might seem like tonight, we generally don't want to have second readings unless they're absolutely necessary. And so since this is already up and running and nothing tends to, there's nothing lost or nothing changed by us pushing the second reading to the next meeting, we are just going to ask for the first reading, and we'll bring it back for the, assuming it passes, for the second reading next meeting.
Great.
Just want to check the Zoom people. Mayor Larkey, Councilmember White, and Councilmember Thompson, do you have any questions or anything? Just want to make sure you still can hear it. Okay.
Good.
We're good.
Okay. And then I do have something I wanted to ask about this, which is, when is the next time that this would come before City Council? Like, is this like a yearly thing that we're going to be, going through this negotiation process, or
This
how?
is a 5-year agreement. Now, the penalty for getting out of the agreement is we have to pay the entirety of the financial burden of the agreement anyway. So in essence, we're signing up for 5 years of this. And so the next agreement would come at the end of that term.
So the reason I ask that is because we could have a situation in theory where maybe our percentage were to go up or to go down. And currently we're doing that, we're on 18%, I saw, right? So if somebody else's percentage went up, we're still locked in, and they just kind of get a little bit of a coast, or
It's
free,
my understanding that everything's set up via percentage as of now, so that would require a brand new agreement to change percentages. And there's, it's a 5-year deal, so the amount that it can increase year over year is capped.
So the amount it can increase is capped, but also the amount it can decrease is capped. And the reason I bring that up is because there's several, municipalities involved, right? So one of them could greatly increase in size and need more resources and something like that, So, okay, I was just curious on that.
More than likely, we'd be the one to increase the most.
Okay.
So,
Any other discussion? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I had a slight hiccup on the Zoom call right when they all spoke. I don't know if we need to redo that, Andrea.
We're all good.
Thank you.
Okay. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Motion approving the first reading of Bill number 2024-62.
An ordinance approving an extension of the current fire protection agreement between Mount Pleasant Fire Protection District and the City of Belton.
Present.
Second. All right, we have a motion and a second.
Good evening, council. So this is an ongoing fire protection agreement that the city of Belton serves Mount Pleasant, and they have done that since the inception of Mount Pleasant, which I'm not even sure when that was, back early 90s, I believe. So we've always been their sole source of fire protection service, not to be confused with EMS because that's a separate deal. And so we signed this contract back in 2019, and at that time made it a 5-year contract with two-year extensions possible. And so that's what this is doing tonight. There was no changes made within the contract. Neither side felt like that there was any changes that would benefit either way. And so we just wanted to go ahead and try to extend and get this 2-year extension for the first of the two.
Thank you. Any discussion? Just want to check with the Zoom call. Any discussion?
No?
No, we're all good here.
Okay. Seeing and hearing none then. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. A motion approving resolution number 2024-96.
A resolution authorizing and approving a contract agreement between the City of Belton and Miles Excavating Incorporated for the Markey Parkway Extension, Project STBG 3356, in the amount of $4,802,378.14.
Present.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Greg, would you like to talk to us?
Yeah, so this project is to extend Markey Parkway from, if you're at 163rd Street and you head west, the road actually ends just past Hobby Lobby as you make the turn right at Quick Trip, the Quick Trip warehouse. And so this project will extend Markey Parkway from there to North Scott. We received $3.75 million in federal funds. We initially received $3 million, but due to other towns not expending their funds, we got an extra bit of money, so we have $3.75 million worth of federal funds to do this job. The job was bid and has 5 people who bid the job, which is very good because it's a pretty good sized job and it's concrete pavement job. The low bid was from Miles Excavating. And Miles Excavating, because it is a federal job, we have to bid jobs at the lowest bid. And that bid has already been submitted and approved by MoDOT. And so tonight we're here for our council to approve the bid and move forward with the project. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions, discussion?
Are they putting any roundabouts in over there?
No.
Just checking.
I guess I have a question, Greg.
Go ahead.
My question is, are we satisfied, knowing that this is a low bid, are we satisfied with this amount of money being able to get the job done?
Absolutely. I mean, the bid actually came in under the engineer's estimate, and it's because things are now starting to get competitive again. Where we were only getting 1 bid, we are now or 2 bids for a project. We're now starting to get 4 and 5 bids for jobs. We're getting a lot more interest from people that haven't bid on jobs in Belton in a long, long time.
Okay.
Hey, Greg, so one of the things that I've been asked is, how will this, can you explain a little bit how this will connect to over by North Scott?
So in North Scott, we've put in for another grant to continue the road straight to the west. And that road will go basically through through 2 businesses that currently exist there. And we'll eventually have to negotiate with them for a price for their property. And then the road will curve back to the north between the big steel electric lines, poles that are out there, and reconnect with Markey.
So initially, this will look kind of,
It'll be an offset
Funny.
intersection.
yeah,
And it'll be a traffic signal there to allow people to get through the intersection until we can build the next section.
so just for, because again, I've seen this comment before. So just for those, that don't understand, this will initially have an offset. It will look a little, unique when it gets finished, but the plan is to have it all straightened out.
Yeah, an offset intersection is really not that uncommon. Luckily enough, around here, we don't have too many of them. But we do have some here in town. So this will be offset, and the signal will be split phase, which means it'll allow traffic from the east side to go, the west side to go, and then north and south to go.
Any other discussion?
So wait, just to clarify, eventually there will be a light added to North Scott where Markey Park crosses it?
With this project, we're going to put a traffic signal at Markey Parkway and North Scott.
Okay.
If you've traveled there at peak times, you understand why.
Hey, when's this expected to start and when's it expected to be finished?
So the start date is, as soon as we get this awarded, we'll give a notice to proceed, hopefully in the next month. That'll allow them to order materials, depending on how the winter is. They may be able to put storm sewer in during the winter. I'm not counting on it, so they'll probably start as soon as the ground gets thawed out in the spring and where they can drive on the ground. Should be completed by the end of the fall, kind of this time next year.
Thanks.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. A motion approving resolution 2024-97.
A resolution approving the purchase of a valve exerciser with hydrovac system from Schulte Supply Incorporated in the amount of $97,473.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and looks like you're still talking to us.
So I know that you guys are really excited about us buying this piece of equipment. It's a two-piece piece of equipment. We actually had it budgeted as buying two separate parts, but we found that it does come together as one piece, or one piece of equipment. And so basically what this piece of equipment does allows us to go out to valves. And one of the main things we need to do is make sure we exercise valves. So it's important to exercise a valve, and what I mean by exercising a valve is that you turn the valve off and then you turn the valve back on. Now, this is the same thing that everyone should do at their house. I know a lot of people don't think about it and don't do it that often, but there should be a valve inside your house where the water comes in. It'd be good for you to turn that valve every 6 months or at least once a year. When you go underneath your sink, there should be two valves, one for the hot, one for the cold. It'd be really good for you to turn those valves at least once a year. I know a lot of people ignore them, and then when something goes wrong with their faucet, they turn the valves, and guess what? The water doesn't turn off. And so turning valves is important for us because when we don't turn our valves, when you do need them, you turn them and they break. And they usually turn into a water main break right there at that spot. And then the valve's broken, so you can't turn the water off. And so it's very important for us to go out and exercise valves. The other portion of this is a hydro excavator. So basically, our valves sit flush, the valve cover sits flush with the ground. So a lot of times when it rains, dirt and junk gets into where the valve is, and it's basically a pipe that goes into the ground about 4 feet, 3 to 4 feet. If that fills up with dirt, and a lot of them do, we have to actually suck all that dirt out of there so we can get down to the valve and be able to exercise it. So this piece of equipment does both, suck the dirt out and exercise the valve. Now we got two different bids, and they're two different pieces of equipment. The difference in the price is because one has a computer with it and one does not. One's built stronger, one is not. And the lower price one did not meet all the things that we wanted. It met the bare minimum, but really didn't give us what we wanted. So that's why we're recommending the more expensive piece, so it'll last longer and do everything we need it to do. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any discussion? All right, hearing and seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We have a consent agenda. One motion, non-debatable, to approve any recommendations noted. Any member of the council may ask for an item to be taken from the consent agenda for discussion and separate action.
Present.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Anything that anybody wants separate discussion on? Okay, not seeing any. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, at this time, we are going to move into communications from City Council. Just from a logistics standpoint, because we do have the mayor just virtually, I am going to still have you go last, Mayor Larkey. So, and then I will go in the normal order here. So, just from a logistical standpoint. So, if you would start us off, please.
Yes, I participated with the Pumpkin Palooza that the Parks Department provided to the city. It was a really fun event. Lots of people participated. The kids were really cute. And also participated in the Hy-Vee Veterans Day breakfast yesterday, and thank the fire department and the police department for having representatives there. That was really great, as well as the school district with the band and the choir. Everybody seemed to have a great time, and that's always a well-attended event. So that's all I've got.
Awesome. So, Greg, one of the things that I love that you do is you provide us with little tidbits of things that can be better for our house and just around the city. In all seriousness, we joke about it, but that's a great thing that you bring up as you talk about and explain the different pieces we're going through. One of the things that you have talked about in the past has been our sewer system and how we can have problems. We don't want water leaking into it, especially when it's raining, et cetera, because it can overburden the system. So I got to experience that last week. Across from my driveway, Public Works was digging up a manhole cover and for the sewer system. It turns out, I guess it was cracked, and the concrete footer, I don't know if that's the right word, but it was damaged, and so they had to replace that as well. I'm going to guess it was shortly after we got all that rain, so I'm going to guess that's how they kind of figured it out. But anyways, I talked to the crew a little bit as they were working in the rain, and one of them introduced themselves as Jeffrey. So I just really wanted to give Jeffrey a shout out and a shout out to the Public Works team. So thanks for doing all that work, especially in the rain, and making sure we don't have more problems with our wastewater treatment plant. So I do have a parks update, and got a few things on that. So the next park meeting will be Monday, November 18th. As I mentioned before, the comprehensive plan survey will be reviewed at that meeting. So something you may want to tune in for. The Fall Craft Show will be this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Art After Dark takes place on November 18th from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. That's that new series that they're running, that Parks is running. And so if you want to participate, you can sign up at beltonparks.org, the normal website. And I think that's everything I got from Parks. So I'll go ahead, Chris.
The only thing I got is if anybody's driven down Main Street today, we got a new addition at the corner of where the City Hall is. We got a clock. It was not paid by taxpayers. It was a donation by Downtown Belton Main Street for the 150th year for Belton. So if you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool, pretty impressive. That's all I got.
That's all I was going to mention too, is the clock looks really nice.
Went and did the Turkey Bowl last Saturday night that benefited the Belton Education Foundation. It was a good time.
Councilmember Thompson?
I have nothing to report, but I bet I will when I get back.
Go ahead, Councilmember White.
Ditto.
All right, Mr. Mayor, you are up.
Yes, first of all, I would like to reiterate what I said last meeting about council donations for Mayor's Christmas tree. If you got money, give it to Andrea if you haven't done that already. And the other thing I'd like to add is that there is a food drive going on. There are barrels at City Hall and some grocery stores, so you need to fill them if you can. And that's all I have.
City manager, do you have anything?
I do have a few things. First off, you talked about the wastewater group, and a couple of weeks ago, I had the opportunity to job shadow with a group of the wastewater folks, and yes, I did get dirty. I got my hands dirty. I got my clothes dirty. I got the whole 9 yards. Got the full experience. We went and cleaned out a bunch of the wells at the lift stations, at each of the lift stations in town, and emptied it and used the jet vac truck to take the waste and take out our detention pond, and it was a very interesting experience, to say the least. Got to see the camera in action going through the storm or through the sewer system, and that was pretty entertaining and interesting. And so it really makes you appreciate the folks that work in that every day, and we've got a really good group of folks that work in our wastewater. And I'm very, very appreciative of them. So I just want to pass that along. Everybody should be, because that's a very important part of what we do, and a very important service that the city does offer. State of the City. The State of the City, which is a chamber event, is next week. It's next Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. Just wanted to bring that up for everybody. So if you're interested in attending, contact the chamber and you can attend that. And then also we're wrapping up audit. I got interviewed by the audit folks today, which is kind of one of the last things that happens before they put together their final report. And I'm very thankful that we brought in a new group to do the auditing this year. They've been very thorough. It's been a very long and deep process, and they've got some findings. I mean, this is for FY23, which would have been April 22 to March of 23, and so yeah, it'll be interesting when that report comes out for the council to review that, and you'll see where we are, and you'll get an idea of what we've done to ensure that we are doing things correctly moving forward. So just something to look forward to.
All right, we have some items for review and discussion. The first one, a finance update, we're going to postpone that until the next meeting. But I understand that, Casey, you're still up because you have the next one on there, utility billing ordinance.
I do, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I have Amanda Carpenter with me. She is our utility billing clerk. She's been doing this job since January. Yeah, for a little while now, and doing a great job, I might add. Tonight we want to talk to you about a few things. The biggest one is the billing cycles that we have. We currently have 5 billing cycles. We would like to take that to 2. And then some of the other items that we want to discuss briefly, shut off, restore fees, final notices, meter tampering fees, shut off for current bills instead of shut off for past due bills. And then maybe briefly discuss our online portal and maybe changing that. So I'm going to let the lady who's boots on ground every single day in there kick this off. And I'm just going to be here to support her. So
Please stand right there. So I've never been to a council meeting, so please pardon me, members. So I guess, you all live in Belton, so you are familiar with the billing, when you get your bills. So we'll talk real quickly about each billing cycle. So each part of the city is divided into 5 different sections. So every week, I go through the same process of loading reads. The guys go read them, they come back, I check for discrepancies, high consumptions, things like that. And then those bills get printed, sent out. And that happens every single week. So with that, you have different read dates, which cause different due dates. And one of the biggest complaints that I have heard on a daily basis since I've started just working in utility billing is, why can't my bill be the same date? I need to budget, I'm on a fixed income, I'm on Social Security. I mean, we all, everyone has to budget. And it's easier when we know exactly when our bill is coming, when our bill is going to be due. So taking those 5 cycles and condensing them into 2, would make same reading date, which would in turn make same due date for the citizens. Which in turn would instead of having those 5 cycles and you're only having the 2 cycles, people tend to get into what I call like the past due, they get in this past due cycle, unfortunately, because they never know when it's due, what have you. Having these 2 cycles, we would, with the reading dates and the due dates being the way they are, would change, when we do have a shut off for a past due account, they're getting shut off for a current account that they have right now. There's no more of this past due mess. There's no more of this, well, I don't even know how much I owe. Why does my bill say I owe $300? Well, no, actually your bill's only $150, but because you have a past due of $150, that's why your total is $300. My biggest thing since I've started has just been, I want to help people. I hate shutting people off. I hate it. And I think that this, having the 2 cycles and then having the shut off for current date instead of past due dates would be a tremendous help with the citizens. It helps on my side as well, so I'm throwing in mine too. Yeah, please.
I want to add to that. So the ordinance, and we'll get to the kind of the final notice piece of this. So the current ordinance says that we will send out a final notice before they're shut off. And I don't know when we actually did send out final notices. We don't send out final notices, but the ordinance says we do. So I believe, and looking at this over the past 2 years, that the next bill actually serves as the final notice, which is why we're waiting so long to shut people off. And if you look at about halfway down on the first page, I've kind of laid out when Amanda talks about the past due cycle, what ends up happening to some people. And this is just an example of a billing cycle. And it's kind of complicated, so bear with me. But if we have a billing cycle that runs from the 1st to the 1st, we would mail that bill out on the 7th. It would be due on the 28th. At that time, we would be reading for the next cycle, which would be the 1st to the 1st, mailed on the 7th. We would then send phone calls out, I'm at March 27th now, for the bill that was due in February, not the bill that is due in March, but the bill that was due in February. Some people get extensions that would extend them out till April 4th. Again, I'm still on this bill that the usage occurred January 1st to February 1st. By the time people pay, or maybe they don't pay after this amount of time, we've got 95 days of potential bad debt. Yes.
Can I interject a question real quick?
Yes.
This is very timely. I got some emails today from a resident who was surprised to see their bill be about $50 higher. And in working with city staff, we found out that she was then carrying a shut-off fee, which $35,
yes.
and a 10% late fee. There are not late fees listed here on this table. Would that be changed in this proposal, or?
There are not, well, I couldn't make the table that long, but there are late fees, yes. And the late fees occur after,
The day after the due date.
yes, the day after the due date,
And that's a set 10%?
correct.
Okay. Sorry, thank you. Keep
You're
going.
fine. And we were actually having this discussion today. We can't find in the ordinance where this is done, or it says we don't do, but in the past, people that had their past due was just a shut-off fee, which is $35, and the penalties, we don't shut them off for that. It would then get passed to the next bill and carried to the next bill, and potentially not shut off if that's all they owe, is the $35 shut-off fee and the penalties from the previous month because they didn't pay on time. So they could carry that for a long time, because we haven't in the past, it's the way it's always been done, shut people off for those types of fees. So So I just kind of wanted to lay that time frame out for you, and carrying 95 days of potential bad debt if that happens, and it does, because like Amanda was saying, they pay the past due, not the current due. And then the current becomes the past, and so on and so on.
There's
So,
quite a few folks stuck in that cycle, correct?
yes.
Yes.
Yes. And when I first got here, I was confused about how we did this billing. And I noticed that we were filling out a calendar, an actual calendar of every billing cycle when we would read it and mail it and bill it and shut it off. So it was all on a calendar. And I thought, wow, that's really confusing. And I heard the utility clerks at the front counter daily talking to customers, trying to help them understand their bill. And I thought, it should not be this hard. I mean, it shouldn't be this complicated for people to understand exactly what their billing cycle is, when it's due, what's past due. So I started inquiring about what's our process. And it's taken a little while to get to this point, but I think that it is definitely best for the citizens if we can change something.
I want to jump in with a question there. It looks like I might not be alone. I might have another one on Zoom too, but oh crap. Zoom just lost my train of thought. Mr. Mayor, do you have a question as well?
Yeah, quick question. If we're going from 5 billing cycles, why are we not going to 1 instead of 2?
Well, we think, okay, so we thought about that.
Since it's all messed up,
Yeah, so we thought about
wouldn't it make
that.
sense to have 1?
We really would like to have one. If we had AMI, that would be perfect, right, Greg? Which we do have in the budget for the next, 5 years or so. But it's a process for the guys to go out and read. And we do not want to make that due date so far out from the actual usage date. So if you look down, and Mr. Mayor, do you have the document that I laid in front of council?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so at the bottom of the page, example of proposed bill cycle, cycle 1, we've taken a potential bad debt of 95 days to 65 days by shortening that. So if we go to 1 cycle, the guys are going to need more time to read. Amanda will need more time to process. So then it just pushes those dates further out, the due dates further out, and gives more time for non-payment. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So when we get to the point where we're automatically reading meters and we can shut people off with a push of a button and turn people on with a push of a button, and we can detect leaks in real time, then going to 1 cycle is definitely something we want to do. But we're not there yet.
I guess I have a question too.
Uh-huh.
How close are we to having all automatic meters?
About $10 million.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
So not too close, but
Okay.
I got
It won't
a
ever
couple questions. What do other cities charge on their shut-off restore fee? Have you researched that, or?
yes.
Yes. Ranging anywhere from 50 to 100 to 150.
Okay. I was just thinking the 150 seems pretty high if we're going to push it at that, so I'm
I think
not
it
crazy about
definitely deters people from being shut off. A $35 fee, I mean, people pay $10 for an extension. They'll pay the $35 fee, then the penalties, and a $10 extension. They're paying a lot of fees that sometimes it's more than their actual bill is, so.
I mean, I'm okay bumping it up a little bit. I think 100 to 150 is probably a little too high.
Mhm.
I'd probably keep it on the lower side. That's me. That's how I feel. The other thing, if we push it to 2 billing cycles, we have to go out and read the meters. Is that going to cause an issue with needing more help reading them? Do we have enough people to if we're gonna push it to 2, because 5, you can divide it up in 5 different days. If we're gonna do 2, we're gonna, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Are we gonna need more people?
We won't need more people.
Okay.
No, they'll just be, it's shifting the work a little bit, and we've talked with Shane, we've talked with some of the guys, we've
Okay.
talked with Greg. One cycle would really, really be pushing them
Yeah.
to the limits. If there's a water main break, I mean, that, they've gotta go for something like that. So 2 is kind of where we are right now until we get
Okay.
updated equipment, reading
That's just
equipment.
that's my 2 issues that I had with what I saw, so.
Yeah.
And I remembered my question.
Okay.
Why were we at 5 to begin with?
I think, I mean, if you look back at these ordinances, one of them's from 1982, they were out hand-reading meters, so they couldn't do the city at once, and they put them, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. And it just never, ever got changed, because the ordinance actually states when we will read and the due dates, which is why we haven't just changed it, because we need you guys to give us permission to bring something back to you and approve those changes in an ordinance.
Okay, so I think we kind of interrupted you. You were still
That's okay.
continuing. Is there anything else that you have to share with us?
Yes. You wanna, or do you want me to continue?
No, you're doing great.
Okay.
I'm here to support you.
Okay, so we talked about the billing cycles. Shut-off restore fee, I put 75 to 150, just to kind of give you some options out there. The final notice, again, that is in the ordinance. We don't send them out, and we don't shut people off for their current bill that's past due. We shut them off for the past due bill that's past due. And again, I believe that we do that because the ordinance says we have to send a final notice. So we also send phone calls out. So we give ample opportunity for people to pay. They've become very reliant on those phone calls. I think that we should continue those, but I think that we should take out the language of final notice being sent out, because that's what's gotten us in this, potential of 95 days of usage not being paid. And just use that phone call for a notification to them that your bill is past due and you will be shut off if you do not pay. So I would like for you to think about that as well, taking that final notice out. Meter tampering fees. I'm going to let Amanda kind of talk to this because she's the one that's really dealing with this more so than I am, and then I'll pick back up.
So, there is in the ordinance, for meter tampering fees, it's $100 that's tacked onto your bill when you have gotten into your meter after you've been shut off and you restore yourself. You turn on your own water. That is the $100 meter tampering fee. Or just getting in your meter in general. That's not something that we want the citizens to do. Lots of reasons, turning on and off your water when you're not supposed to, and if they were to knock the register off or knock some wires loose or something, there's potential for a broken register. And there have been an uptick in cases of people restoring themselves of their water. And as long as I've only been here since, August of last year. And we've never implemented that meter tampering fee, but I think that hoping that maybe that will deter people from getting in there and potentially causing harm on their meter. As dramatic as that sounds.
If I may, the meters are city property, and so someone going in and tampering with the meter and stealing water could be considered a crime as well. So there are other avenues the city could pursue in those instances as well as the meter tampering fee.
And this is a case of, you've never done that before. So for us to just start doing it now without bringing it to your attention, you're going to get all kinds of phone calls. So, we really need to start hammering down on these types of instances. So think about that. The shut-off, we kind of briefly touched on this. We are shutting off now for the past due, not a current bill that's due. And in our new timelines, on the bottom of the page and the second page, it'll show you when we would actually shut the water off, and it's based on the current bill that is due, which again saves us about 30 days of usage that is, the potential is there for it to never be paid, and then book to bad debt. And then our online portal, one of the reasons that people sometimes don't know what their bill is because they're on e-billing, and the bill that shows up on e-billing is not the actual bill that you would receive in the mail, so it's not broken down for them. So we definitely want to address that and see how we can make that better for them.
All they get actually on their e-billing is just a balance. So they get a bill, it could be 2 bills, could be 1 bill, they just get a balance of how much they owe. So, yeah, breaking it down would be very helpful.
And when will that start?
Well,
Can you say?
we need to
I'm
talk
the
with
same
our,
way. When we
yeah,
get our bill
we-
online, it's like it doesn't break down anything.
right, we need to talk with our software and
Yeah.
see what they can do to remedy that, and hopefully they can. But again, just a quick recap, changing the billing cycles. We would like to have permission to bring back some changes for you in the ordinance to be able to change that. I'm looking at, if you guys are okay with it, if you do approve an ordinance, potentially putting this into effect for the next budget year. Shut-off fees, if I could get some feedback on that, that would be great. Taking the final notice out, putting the phone calls in. I don't know that that really needs to be in the ordinance, but the fact that it says that we will send a final notice, again, that's keeping us from shutting people off for the current bill instead of the past due bill.
I do have a question about the phone calls, though.
Yes.
Have you had anyone dispute that they were given a phone call about final notice that
Yes.
our
Yes.
water's going to be shut off?
Yes.
So we have a system, it's called relays.
It's an yeah.
It's an IVR, automatic phone, recording. So I pull a report every Tuesday morning and for the cycle that we're shutting off that week. And, I throw it into the system, it sends the phone calls out. And so we'll get and so that system actually will save whether it was answered, if they got hung up on, if they left a voicemail, what have you. So we do get a lot of, well, I didn't know I was past due. So, and we will say, well, look at your last bill you got, you have a past due balance on there, and then the phone call, and we've looked up, oh, well, this was answered with a voicemail. Did you check your voicemail? So we have had a few.
But you do have this record that shows that this
Yes.
was made. Okay, that was my concern about not sending out the final notice. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
And the phone calls obviously would only go to the people that are past due.
If we're already using an automatic calling system, should we consider automated texts?
I've had that question. I live in Raymore, and I get a text about 2 days before my bill is due. Reminder, your Raymore utility bill is due on, October 11th or whatever. I feel like most people text, now very few people pick up I don't pick up my phone. Very few people pick their phones up. So I've suggested, but I don't know how much more I don't know if that's extra.
Well, that's like minor in terms of what you guys are proposing here. I agree with you, though. I think that might be an effective tool. I just quickly Googled our neighbors, northeast, south, and west, and I feel like I saw mostly 50 to 60 shut off and restore fees.
Okay.
I would not be comfortable increasing it. I mean, maybe 75, but 150, that's such a jump. And if we have a significant number of people going through that every month, I understand it as a deterrent, but in effect, right away, it will be punishing for some folks.
Sure, yeah. I put it on there as an up, because there is one to the south that is 150.
Okay.
That's why I went up that high, so.
Which one is it?
No comment.
All right.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Okay. Um,
I just want to, I'm staying on that topic. I would echo that anything above 75 sounds a little high.
sure.
And the 50 to 60 range is actually exactly what I was thinking. So that's kind of strange that I was able to manifest that based on what you Googled. But anyways, that's just my 2 cents on that piece, is that we probably do not want to go to the high end, and if anything, maybe a little lower than the low end.
Lower than 75. So
Yeah,
could I
I'm
just get like
thinking-
maybe a consensus, like when I bring it back at 50? I mean, 50 going once.
Sold.
Okay, I'm gonna bring
Just
back.
want to make sure on the Zoom, you guys, because I know there's a delay. Are you okay with 50 for the shut off?
They said yes.
I'm seeing a yes. I'm seeing head nods.
And what we want to do, because we do have people that are currently past due, to get them, I mean, we would, do a messaging campaign. This is what we're doing. So the sooner that we can get this back to you, the better it'll be for them. So the people that are currently past due, obviously, we want to get them caught up. We want to do everything we can to get them current. And if that means waiving penalties, we'll do that. If it means waiving shut-off fees, we'll do that. If it means payment plans, we'll do that. But we want to get people current, as many people as we can current, to start this new billing cycle, these new billing cycles off. So,
That's what I was going to say too. I know people have things come up,
Yeah.
and to work a payment, if they do get behind,
Right.
try to work with them with a payment.
Yep.
I'm plenty good with that.
Yep.
The other thing I got is on the tampering. I've got a 140-year-old house. My shut off is underneath the house in a crawl space that if I got in there, I probably wouldn't be able to get out with my knees. So I go out and shut it off at the main. I don't have any other way to shut it off other than calling a plumber. But I've always been told I could do that. So am I not supposed to do that? Really?
no. Mhm.
So I've been breaking the law, basically.
Well, I mean,
I'm glad Chief Lyons is out of here right now.
I'm just the finance director, so yeah.
I mean, I just bought the house
Sure.
3 years ago, and I'm working on having it plumbed out to where I can shut it off in another spot where I don't have to crawl under the house. But there might be other houses around here
Sure.
that people might be in the same boat, so.
Well, and our main concern is people that are shut off. They turn themselves back on.
Right.
I mean, that's,
The
So I
tampering
can
more.
do this is what
no,
you're
I'm not saying that.
Can't do it at all.
I mean, it's city,
So I can't move that valve at all.
you could call us,
So call the
Call-
Public Works on Sunday afternoon if I have to shut my water off.
Could send Michelle under there.
Greg say no. Okay. Well, I'm sure I'm not the only one that does
Sure.
this. I'm sure there's
Right.
plenty of other
Right.
people. There's a lot of older houses in this around here, so.
right.
No, that's a good that's a good question.
Yeah. And maybe we can, get more into that
Okay.
later, for sure. And then the 2 billing cycles, I don't know if you guys looked at the dates, but those dates kind of keep us away from Christmas. Because we have definitely gotten in the habit of, we don't want to shut people off during Christmas, and we don't do that. So when we have 5 different cycles, we're pushing shut off out, which means it pushes the next cycle out and the next cycle out and so on. And the same thing for Thanksgiving. If a shut off falls on Thanksgiving, we're not turning people off for Thanksgiving either. So that gets pushed off. So, we try to pick dates where you're not going to hit a major holiday. And that's just not nice to shut people off during Thanksgiving and Christmas. So, any concerns about these 2 billing cycles? Okay. Well, I think if there are yes?
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
So, what happens if there's no phone number on file?
I don't,
Usually-
go ahead.
No, you're fine. Usually we will get a phone call. I didn't get a phone call. And we can look up on the report that I save, and we can say, oh, you don't have a phone number on file. Let's update that for you. We try to update as much as we can with people. I've had to email before, because they didn't have a phone number, but they had an email address. So I would email, and then I would say, let's update your phone number as well. Can you please reply with a correct phone number? There's some people that they don't have an email or phone number on file, unfortunately, and so we just have to wait until they come in to make a payment or have a question or something. When we look up their account, oh, let's update your information. I mean, it's not like the doctor's office where you come in every year and, update new information, so.
What is the process overall for shutting water off? Like, and so what I'm getting at here is, like, I don't need to know that you go talk to Bob and then Bob drives his car over there and then Bob goes and turns the valve and whatever, right? What I mean when I ask that question is, so the notice to the resident, what does that process look like? What is being done up to the point where we turn that water off? Is the person coming out there that's turning the water off? Are they informing the resident that's what they're doing on their property? Well, or the easement of their property, but you know what I mean? Is it like, can you talk me through that process?
Yes.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, you're okay. I'm trying to think of how to cliff note it, because I'm long-winded.
I'll cliff note it real quick.
Cliff note it, yep.
So,
Cliff note it.
again, they're getting shut off because of, if you go and you look at this first table here, because of a bill that is,
Well, I'm going to stop you right there because that's not always true. I can tell you of at least two very specific examples where that was not true.
and that,
So-
right, I agree with you. So that's called a mistake. There are mistakes that are made,
Of course,
yes.
we're all human.
Yes, but the normal process for someone being shut off is they haven't paid the bill that was due 30 days prior, not their current bill. And I didn't mean to interrupt you like that, but you are right. I mean, I just had to deal with one.
So that's why I want to talk about that process because, okay, let me just, I can look at it from my point of view
Okay.
and provide this.
Okay.
I've had this happen to me. I
Okay.
have had automatic payments since the day we moved here. So going on like 8 years now. And we were on vacation. We came home. I had a 2-year-old or 1.5-year-old thereabouts, and I didn't have water. I had no idea why. I had no phone call. I had no notice, no nothing. And I went to my neighbors. I thought, hey, neighbors, do you have water? They all had water. So naturally, the first thing I did was I went out to that valve and I turned it back on because I had no idea why. We needed the water. I needed it for making formula and for the kid, and there was no. I mean, this was a Saturday or Sunday. I mean, there's no going without the water. Come to find out, there was a mistake made. My phone number apparently was not on file. When the person came out and shut it off, they didn't leave a sticky note on my door. There was no indication. I didn't get there was nothing. So I understand that we changed systems a couple years ago. That's what generated the problem.
Okay.
However, I talked to a gentleman last year that experienced nearly identical the same issue that I experienced, and this was a couple years later. So I understand mistakes happen. I understand that the system even makes mistakes, even though that's not human.
Sure, yeah.
But where I'm getting at here is what I would like to see is I'm fine with the phone calls, especially automated ones that we can track. That sounds great. Even better if we can make that text. I don't think we need to give a written final notice. I don't think that should be the intent here.
Right.
But I would like to see communication with the homeowner when the person comes and actually shuts it off. Even if that communication is just putting a sticky note on their front door, I think that should exist because that would have left for when those mistakes happen, and even when they don't happen, even if it's, someone who is past due paying, I think that would help a lot to alleviate the concern there.
The only thing I'm going to throw in with that's a great idea. And we do that for when I'm researching issues with bills like high consumption. The water guys, our customer service gentleman will go out, he'll check the meter. if the leak indicator's on or the meter's running, he will turn the water off if he can't get a hold of anybody, and he will leave a note on the door, because we don't want your water to keep going if it's leaking and he can't get a hold of you. On shut-off day, you're looking at upwards of 200 to 250 people that they're trying to shut off, and then as soon as we get payments, they're going right back out to restore. I don't know if it's feasible to have them shutting all those people off and then remembering to leave sticky notes for everybody. That's just the only,
Yeah, and we wouldn't do a sticky note. We would do a work order is what we would do.
Right, yeah.
Because, yeah, with the.
Which is, when I say that, door hanger, whatever you
I
want to
know,
call it,
I
I
know.
don't.
I know you don't mean sticky note. We do post a work order on the door, and I am now asking for them to take a picture of what they've posted on the door, because we will get phone calls saying, I didn't get anything. But I want proof that it was there, so that I can say, well, you did, or, yeah, we didn't leave a notice for you. And it's our mistake. So, I mean, if that is something that you guys
guess,
feel very strongly about.
I didn't realize the, I don't know what the right word is I'm looking for here. I didn't realize the impact. I didn't realize we're talking about that many customers and that much volume.
Yeah.
But that said, I still think it's something we should try to consider to look at, because I mean, this person I talked to, not only was his story nearly identical to mine, but what was most kind of maybe concerning was that his wife was home, present when it happened. And the only reason they figured it all at all, because they were just playing this guessing game the same as I was because she happened to look out the window and see a Belton city truck driving away. That was the only clue that they had to figure it out.
So do you know why they got shut off? Was their payment not?
Nope,
Okay.
they were current on payments, they were current on everything.
Okay. Yeah.
It was just a mistake. And like I said, I understand. I'm not trying to harp on mistakes.
No,
Those
right.
happen.
Yeah, I
We all
understand.
make mistakes, and that's not and the system even does. I'm not trying to harp on that. I'm
Right.
just trying to, if the communication existed, it wouldn't have been as big of a problem.
Right,
That was
I
the
agree.
problem, right? Was
I
the
agree.
communication.
Yep, I agree.
that's fair.
So again, if that's something you guys feel strongly about, we can look into that and see, what we
Yeah,
can
I'm
do
not saying
to-
it needs to be a mandate given the volume that was just presented, but I would like it to at least be considered because it came down to a problem of communication.
Sure. Yep, I understand.
And it could almost be like a sticker that's already made up.
We
Called.
have those.
Oh, you do? Okay. But you don't put them on there now?
No, that's what the technicians use when they go check for like my high consumptions.
Oh, okay.
Before I
do
bill
put a
people.
sticker on there,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a pre-written out sticky note, and they
Doesn't
just,
take any time to put it on there.
yeah, I think they fill out, I've never actually really seen like what they write on there. I think they just write, was here, had high consumption, it's got the city hall phone number, yeah.
But that's only, to clarify, that's only for the ones of high consumption. That's not just,
Those are we don't do it for shut off, like actual
Gotcha.
past due shut off.
I'd be good with something like that for shut off too, but, and I'm glad Chief Lyons is still out since you told your story.
Right, so, yeah. Let's not tell any more of those stories tonight.
I had no idea. Actually, it was really a side note. The guy I ended up talking to, because so we went online, we found the Belton emergency number or non-emergency number, because that's who you're supposed to call, is the Belton Police non-emergency. We did that. They patched us into the right person. We talked to the emergency guy to come out and he actually goes, "Well, you saved me the trip." He was, I don't know, 30 minutes away or something, and he said basically he understood that it was an automatic thing. He goes, the first thing he asked me was, "Are you on automatic payments?" "Yeah, of course." He goes, "We've had this issue come up. I'm continuing to hear it. It was fixed first thing Monday morning. We had it all taken care of, and it was right as rain. But it was the customer service once we got there was fantastic. It was the problem of getting there."
Right. Yeah, and the most important thing on shut-off day is actual restore. I mean, that's the priority is as soon as people pay. I mean, we're doing everything we can to dispatch the guys out to turn them back on. That is definitely the most important thing. So, and then going to 2 cycles, that shut-off of 200 could potentially become 400. So it'll be a lot more.
Especially at first, right? There's
Yes.
always,
Yes. So, any other questions?
okay, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Banks Valley rezoning and plat. Matt?
Yep, staff is currently reviewing applications for a rezoning preliminary and final plats for a 40-acre parcel in the 15700 and 15800 blocks of Kentucky Road. The property is proposed to be rezoned from R1 single family to A agriculture and subdivide the property into 4 lots, each approximately 10 acres large, or 10 acres in size. The purpose of the rezoning is to accommodate agricultural land uses with single family homes, which would include the keeping of cattle, which are currently on the property. This would also allow larger accessory structures such as barns to be constructed on the property. This rezoning is in keeping with the surrounding properties as well as the lot sizes that currently exist along Kentucky Road. Water and sewer are not immediately accessible to the property. A septic system will be required, and the city of Raymore has a water line along Kentucky Road, which is currently serving other properties in Belton along Kentucky Road, north of Kentucky View, up to 155th Street. A cooperative water service agreement between Belton and Raymore is required to be approved and recorded with the final plat, which would limit the property to a maximum of 4 water taps. And that once Belton water is accessible to the property, water must be disconnected from Raymore and connect to Belton. Any further subdivision beyond 4 lots will require a Belton water line extension to the property, which currently ends approximately a quarter mile south at the Kentucky View subdivision. Planning Commission has a public hearing scheduled next Tuesday at 6 o'clock for this, the rezoning for that item.
Anything you need from us?
Nope, just wanted to give you all an update on that project.
All right, thank you. Looks like you are still up, and we're going to talk about the Crest Plaza lot number 4, the Valvoline replat.
Yeah, we are currently reviewing a final plat for Crest Plaza 4th plat, which is a replat of Lot 4. This is for the lot that is south of Arvis Bank in front of the Price Chopper Shopping Center. The current lot is proposed to be split into 2 lots, with the north lot being the proposed Valvoline location, with the south lot being reserved for a potential drive-through restaurant. Staff has worked with Valvoline and the applicant on increasing the south lot to the extent possible to accommodate a future drive-through restaurant tenant. However, the minimum 100-foot lot width is not met along the North Cedar frontage due to the private access drive widths at the Price Chopper entrance. However, the overall lot width is met at the rear of the lot where the lot is most buildable due to the utility easements along the front of the lot, which does limit the street frontage buildable area. Staff is also working with the developer on dedicating and installing a larger multi-tenant sign for the shopping center, which may be incorporated into this plat or by separate document at a later date once the final sign location and details have been determined.
And, sorry, when does that come into us? Or come in, not to us, but to planning?
This is coming to Planning Commission next Tuesday as well. We tentatively have it scheduled for, since it's such a minor item, for the potentially November 26th council if the applicant get everything into us that we need. Otherwise, it will, both of these items will become before you on December 17th.
Any questions for Matt? Okay, thank you. At this time, I'll have a motion to enter executive session to discuss matters pertaining to legal actions according to Missouri Statute 610.021.1, pertaining to the leasing, purchase, or sale of real estate according to Missouri Statute 610.021.2, pertaining to negotiated contracts according to Missouri Statute 610.021.12, and that the record be closed and the meeting adjourned from there.
Present.
Second.
Hearing we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, can we please get a roll call?
Councilmember Lawson?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Davidson?
Yes.
Richardson?
Aye.
McCallum?
Aye.
Thompson?
Yes.
White?
Aye.
and Mayor Larkey.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. We are adjourned.